The red lights flashed across the council chamber. Elder Corvesh looked at the big screen showing the destruction of Velox 7. The planet was dying. Black shapes moved across its surface like a disease. The Grosk had found another world. "How long?" Corvesh asked his aide, Thamel. 3 days, Elder. Maybe 4 if the people hide in the deep caves. Corvesh closed his eyes. Velox 7 had 12 million Velari living on it. In 4 days, they would all be gone? The Grosk would eat everything. The plants, the animals, the people, even the buildings. Nothing would be left but bare rock. This was the 15th world they had lost this year. What about the evacuation ships? Corvesh asked. Not enough time, Thimel said. We can maybe save 50,000. The rest would die. Just like all the others, the Grosk were not like normal enemies. They did not want land or resources or power. They just wanted to eat. Everything. They came in huge swarms of black, bug-like creatures. Each one was as big as a house. They had sharp teeth and claws that could cut through metal. But the worst part was how fast they made more of themselves. One Grosk could become 10 in just 1 day if it had enough food. 10 could become 100. 100 could become 1,000. Soon, whole planets were covered with them. The Velari had fought them for 20 years. So had many other species. The mighty Xanthorians had sent their great war fleets. The Grosk ate them all. The wise Academy had tried to reason with them. The Grosk ate them too. The powerful Nexus Federation had built huge walls around their worlds. The Grosk climbed over them and ate everything behind the walls. No one could stop the Grosk. They just kept eating and growing and spreading. Elder, Themel said quietly, the council is waiting for your decision. Corvesh looked around the chamber. 50 of the wisest Velari in the galaxy sat in their chairs. All of them looked scared. All of them looked to him for answers he did not have. We have one option left, Corvesh said. The emergency broadcast system. The council members started talking all at once. The emergency broadcast was only for the worst disasters. It would send a message to every known species in the galaxy. But using it meant admitting they were beaten. It meant begging for help, Elder, said Council Member Vex. Who would answer? The Xanthorians are gone. The Academy are gone. Everyone who could help us has already tried and failed. Then we ask everyone, Corvesh said. Every species. Every world. Someone might know something we do not. Someone might have a way to fight them. And if no one answers? Asked another council member. Corvesh looked at the screen again. The black shapes on Velox 7 were moving faster now. Soon they would reach the main cities. Then we die, he said simply. But at least we will have tried everything. The vote was quick. 47 said yes. 3 said no. The emergency broadcast system powered up for the first time in 300 years. Corvesh stood at the main transmitter. The message had to be simple. Most species had different languages. The translation systems could only handle basic words. This is Elder Corvesh of the Velari High Council, he said into the transmitter. We need help. The Grosk swarm is destroying our worlds. We are dying. Anyone who can help, please respond. Coordinates follow. The message went out across the galaxy. It would reach every major world, every space station, every ship with a long-range receiver. Billions of beings would hear their cry for help. Then they waited. The first responses came quickly. Most were the same. We are sorry for your loss. We cannot help. The Grosk cannot be stopped. Save who you can. We tried to fight them once. Do not make our mistake. Some species sent longer messages. They told stories of their own fights with the Grosk. All the stories ended the same way. Defeat, death, worlds turned into empty rocks. Hours passed. The responses kept coming. All saying no. All saying it was hopeless. Corvesh sat in his chair and watched the messages. Themo brought him food, but he could not eat. On the screen, Velox 7 was almost completely black now. Soon another world would be dead. Elder, Thymel said. Maybe we should start the evacuation of Velari Prime. If we leave now. No, Corvesh said. This is our home. If we run now, we will run forever until there is nowhere left to go. More messages came in. The Corvani sent their regrets. The Stellar Republic wished them luck. The Free Worlds Alliance offered to take refugees but could not send military help. Then something different happened. The communication system made a sound it had never made before. A new signal was coming in. But this one was not from any known species. The translation system worked for a few seconds, then displayed the message received. Assistance en route. Thymel checked the database. Elder, the signal came from a system called Sol. The species calls itself. Humans? I have never heard of them. Corvesh frowned. Show me their world. The database had very little information. Sol was a small system far from the main galactic trade routes. The third planet was called Earth. The file was marked with warning symbols. Dangerous world, Thymel read. Extreme weather patterns. Toxic atmosphere zones. Violent native predators. High radiation levels in some areas. Warning, this planet shows signs of being a Class 12 death world. Approach with extreme caution, a death world. The most dangerous type of planet in the galaxy. Places where everything was trying to kill everything else. Most species avoided them completely. What kind of beings live on a death world? Corvesh wondered. I do not know, Elder, but they said they are coming to help. Corvesh looked at the message again. Assistance en route. Not, we will try to help, or we wish you luck. Just a simple statement, they were coming. How long until they arrive? He asked. Thymel did some calculations. From their system to ours, at least 6 months, Elder, maybe more. 6 months. They would lose dozens more worlds by then. Maybe they would all be dead before these humans arrived. But for the first time in years, Corvesh felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. Send them our current military positions, he said. And Thymel? Yes, Elder? Find out everything you can about these humans. If they live on a death world. And still have space travel, they might be more dangerous than we think. Outside the council chamber, the stars continued to shine. Somewhere among them, unknown beings from a world of death were coming to help. Corvesh just hoped they would arrive in time, and that they were truly friends, not something worse than the Grosk themselves. Captain J stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution and watched the alien star system grow larger on the main screen. 6 months of travel through the dark space between stars had finally ended. They were here, the Volari system. Captain, said his tactical officer Na, we are getting signals from multiple ships ahead. They look friendly? Any weapons? Jay asked. Some energy weapons, but they are very weak. Their ships are big but not built for fighting, Jay nodded. His crew had spent the long trip studying everything they could about the Volari and their enemy, the Grosk. The aliens seemed like peaceful people. Maybe too peaceful. Min, he called to his weapons officer. Keep our guns ready, but do not point them at anyone yet. Yes, Captain, Min replied. She was young, but good at her job. All of his crew were good. They had to be. This was humanity's first trip to meet aliens, and they could not make mistakes. Tay, Jay said to his chief engineer, how are our systems? Oh. Good, Captain. The new engines worked perfectly. We made better time than we thought we would. The Retribution was not a big ship by human standards. It was built for war, not comfort. Thick armor covered every surface. Weapons stuck out from the hull like metal teeth. Inside, everything was designed to keep working even if parts of the ship were destroyed. To the humans, it looked normal. To the Volari, it would look like a nightmare. Captain, Na said, we are getting a transmission. Audio and video. Put it on the main screen. The screen flickered and an alien face appeared. It had large eyes and pale blue skin, no hair. The head was bigger than a human head, but the neck was thin. When it spoke, the words came through. The translation system. Unknown vessel, this is Ambassador Veleth of the Volari First Contact Division. We welcome you to our system. Please identify yourself. Jay stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. This is Captain J of the United Earthship Retribution. We received your message asking for help. The alien's large eyes got even larger. You are the humans? The ones from the death world? Earth is our home, yes. We came as fast as We could, Ambassador Vela seemed to be talking to someone off-screen. Then he looked back at Jay. Captain, we are very grateful that you came, but we must ask... Your ship is very small. Do you have a larger fleet coming behind you? Jay smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. This is just the first ship, Ambassador. More will come if we need them. We see. Captain, would you be willing to come aboard our diplomatic vessel? We have much to discuss. Send us the coordinates. We will meet you in 1 hour. The transmission ended. Jay turned to his crew. Nah, you have the bridge. Keep the ship ready to fight or run. We do not know these aliens yet. Should we trust them, Captain? Asked Min. We should be careful, Jay said. They asked for help, but that does not mean they are telling us everything. An hour later, Jay and 3 of his officers were in a small shuttle flying toward the Valari diplomatic ship. The alien vessel was huge, 10 times bigger than the Retribution. But as they got closer, Jay could see it was not built for war. The hull was thin, the weapons were small. It was more like a flying city than a warship. These people really do not know how to fight, said Officer Ho, who was flying the shuttle. That might be why they are losing, Jay replied. They docked with the alien ship and were met by Ambassador Velef and several other Valari. The aliens were tall and thin, with long arms and delicate hands. They moved carefully, like they were afraid of breaking something. The meeting room was bright and comfortable. The chairs were too big for humans, but Jay and his officers made them work. Ambassador Veleth sat across from them with 2 other aliens. Captain Jay, Veleth said, thank you for coming so far to help us. We are honored by your presence. Tell us about your situation, Jay said. How many worlds have you lost? How many people need to be evacuated? Veleth looked confused. Evacuated? Captain, we were hoping you might have weapons or technology that could help us fight the Grosk. We have weapons, Jay said. But first, we need to know about your defenses. Where are your military bases? What kind of ships do you have? How many soldiers? Soldiers? Another alien spoke up. This one was introduced as Commander Hexus. Captain, the Valari do not have soldiers like you might think. We have security forces for keeping peace, but we are not a military people. Jay looked at his officers. They all had the same thought. These aliens were completely helpless. Commander, Jay said slowly, you are fighting a war. Where are your battle fleets, your weapons factories, your training centers? We do not have such things, Veleth admitted. When the Grosk attack, we try to evacuate our people to safe worlds. We have never been able to stop them directly. Officer Key, who was Jay's intelligence specialist, leaned forward. Ambassador, how do you fight them? What tactics do you use? We try to rescue as many people as possible before the Grosk arrive. Sometimes we can slow them down with mining explosives or by destroying bridges, but we cannot really fight them. The humans looked at each other. Captain Jay felt like he was talking to children. Ambassador, he said, you send a message asking for help against an enemy that is destroying your worlds. But you have no military, you have no weapons. You do not even try to fight. What exactly did you want us to do? Veleth seemed surprised by the question. We hoped you might have better technology for evacuating people. Or maybe weapons that could scare the Grosk away without hurting them too much. Scare them away? Jay repeated. Ambassador, from what we read in your files, the Grosk have destroyed dozens of worlds and killed billions of people. And you want to scare them away? Violence should always be the last option, said Commander Hexus. We are a civilized people. We believe in peace. And how is that working for you? Asked Officer Ho. The aliens were quiet for a moment. Then Veleth spoke softly. Not very well, I am afraid. Captain Jay stood up. The aliens were much taller than him, but somehow he seemed to fill the room. Ambassador, let me be clear about something. We did not come here to evacuate people. We did not come here to scare anyone away. We came here to solve your problem. What do you mean by solve? Veleth asked. We mean we are going to kill every single Grosk in your galaxy, all of them, every last one. The alien stared at him in shock. Commander Hexus spoke first. Captain, That is ... is genocide. You cannot simply wipe out an entire species. Watch us, Jay said simply. Ambassador Velith was shaking. Captain, we asked for help, not for mass murder. We are peaceful people. We cannot be part of something like this. Then stay out of our way, Jay replied. We will handle this ourselves. As the meeting ended and the humans prepared to leave, Velith realized something terrible. These beings from the Death World were not the saviors the Velari had hoped for. They were something else entirely. Something that might be worse than the Grosk themselves, but as Captain Jay walked back to his shuttle, he was already planning. The Velari were too soft to fight a real war. But humans were not. And this galaxy was about to learn what happened. When someone asked Earth for help, the war was about to begin. And it would be like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Lieutenant Yu checked his equipment one more time. The stealth suit was working perfectly. His weapons were ready. The small observation drone in his backpack was charged and ready to record everything. Team check, he said quietly into his radio. Soldier BO ready, came the first response. Soldier 1 ready, said the second. Yu nodded. His team was small but good. They had trained for this mission during the long trip to the Velari system. Now they were about to see the enemy for the first time. The Velari observer ship floated in space near the edge of the Nexus system. Through the thick windows they could see Nexus 4 in the distance. 3 days ago it had been a beautiful world with green forests and blue oceans. Now it was turning black. Lieutenant, said Velari Commander Dexus, are you sure about this? The Grosk are very dangerous. Many brave people have died trying to get close to them. You looked at the alien commander. Like all Velari, Dexus was. Tall and thin with pale blue skin, he seemed nervous. Actually, all the Velari seemed nervous all the time. Commander, we need to see them ourselves, you said. Your reports are helpful, but we need our own information. But why get so close? We have long-range sensors. We can see them from here. You smiled. It was not a nice smile. Because sensors do not tell you how they smell. The Velari looked confused, but you did not explain. Humans had learned long ago that you could not really know an enemy until you were close enough to smell their fear. Or in this case, close enough. To smell whatever the Grosk smelled like, the small human shuttle left the observation ship and flew toward Nexus 4. Yu and his team were dressed in black, stealth suits that would make them very hard to see. The shuttle was also covered in stealth technology. As they got closer to the planet, they could see the damage more clearly. The Grosk had landed on the main continent 2 days ago. Already, a quarter of the landmass was completely black. Nothing green remained. No trees, no grass, no life at all. Look at that, whispered Soldier BO. They really do eat everything. The shuttle landed on a small moon near the planet. From there, Yu and his team would use jetpacks to fly to the planet's surface. It was dangerous, but humans had done dangerous things before. Remember, Yu told his team as they prepared to leave the shuttle, we are here to watch and learn. Do not engage the enemy unless they attack first. We need information, not a fight. What if they do attack? Asked Soldier 1. Yu patted the rifle on his back. Then we find out how hard they are to kill. The flight to the planet took 2 hours. They landed on a hill about 50 kilometers from the nearest Grosk activity. Through their scopes, they could see the edge of the consumption zone. What they saw made Soldier BO whistle softly. Holy hell. The Grosk were huge. Each one was the size of a building, with 6 legs like tree trunks and a mouthful of teeth that could bite through metal. Their black shells reflected no light at all. They moved in groups, eating everything in their path, but the worst part was how many there were. Thousands of them covered the landscape like a moving carpet of death. As you watched, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Some of the larger Grosk were laying eggs. Big, black eggs that hatched in minutes. Baby Grosk came out already the size of cars. Sir, said Juan, look at how fast they reproduce. No wonder nobody can stop them. Yu was recording everything with his drone. The way they moved, the way they fed, the way they made more of themselves. After 6 hours of watching, he had seen enough. Time to go, he said. We have what we need. The trip back to the Velari observation ship was quiet. Each human was thinking about what they had seen. When they arrived, Commander Dexus was waiting for them. "Well?" the Velari asked. "What did you learn?" "We learned that you have been telling the truth," you said. "They are as bad as you said, maybe worse." The briefing room was full of Velari officers and scientists. They had prepared a presentation about the Grosk for the humans. Commander Dexus started the show. "These are recordings from the Battle of Zenthari Prime," he said. A video showed huge space fleets firing energy weapons at Grosk swarms. The weapons barely scratched the creature's shells. 12,000 ships were destroyed in this battle. The Grosk lost maybe 100 individuals. Another video showed ground combat. Soldiers from different species tried to fight the Grosk with various weapons: lasers, plasma guns, sonic weapons, chemical attacks. Nothing worked very well. "The Corvani tried to poison them," Dexus continued. "The Grosk just ate the poison and kept going. The Academy tried to confuse them with mental attacks. The Grosk do not have minds like ours. Nothing worked." Video after video showed the same thing. Different species trying different tactics. All of them failing, all of them dying. "This is why we evacuate," Dexus explained. "Fighting them is hopeless. We can only save who we can and retreat to new worlds." The humans watched all the videos without saying much. Sometimes one of them would ask a question about weapons or tactics, but mostly they just watched and learned. After the presentation, the Velari scientists shared their research. They had studied Grosk biology for 20 years. They knew how the creatures fed, how they reproduced, how they communicated. "The interesting thing," said Dr. Vale, the lead Velari scientist, "is their reproduction cycle. They need specific minerals to make their eggs. These minerals are common on most inhabited worlds, which is why they target those worlds." Sergeant Hahn, the team's biologist, leaned forward. She had been quiet during most of the briefing, but now she looked very interested. "What kind of minerals?" she asked. "Iron, calcium, phosphorus, and a few others. Very basic elements, but they need them in large quantities." Hahn nodded and made notes on her tablet. "And they get these minerals from eating everything on the planet?" "Yes. Plants, animals, even rocks and soil. They consume it all?" Hahn looked at Lieutenant Yu. They had worked together for 3 years. You could tell she had an idea. "Doctor," Hahn said slowly, "what happens if they cannot get these minerals?" We have never tested that," Dr. Vale admitted. "Every world they attack has these minerals. But what if a world did not have them? Or what if the minerals were changed somehow?" The Velari looked confused. "Changed how?" Hahn smiled. It was the same kind of smile Lieutenant Yu had worn earlier. "Not very nice. What if the minerals were poisoned?" she asked. "Not just regular poison. Something that would interfere with their reproduction cycle." Dr. Vale thought about this. I suppose it might slow them down. But we have never had a world without these minerals to test the theory. We do not need a world without them," Han said. "We just need to make sure they get the wrong kind." Lieutenant Yu started to understand. "You're thinking about contaminating their food supply." "Exactly. They eat everything on a planet. If we made sure the planet had the wrong minerals, or if we added things that would interfere with their biology..." You grinned. This was the kind of thinking that made humans dangerous. When they returned to the Retribution, Captain J was waiting for the mission report. Yu and his team gathered in the main briefing room with the ship's senior officers. "Report," J said simply. Yu stood up. "Captain, the Grosk are exactly what the Velari said they are. Big, tough, and they reproduce very fast." But Sergeant Han found something interesting. Han explained her theory about the mineral requirements and reproduction cycle. She also shared her ideas about contaminating the Grosk food supply. When she finished, the room was quiet for a moment. Then Captain J spoke. "So you are saying we can poison them?" "Not poison exactly," Han said. "More like interfere with their ability to make babies." "And if they cannot make babies?" "Then they cannot replace the ones we kill," Jay nodded slowly. What else did you learn? You told him about the failed battles they had seen in the Villari videos, the weapons that did not work, the tactics that had failed. Captain, you said, I think the Villari and everyone else have been fighting the wrong war. Explain. They try to fight the Grosk in space where the creatures are strong. They try to protect their worlds by stopping the Grosk from landing. But the Grosk are tough, and there are always more of them. So what do you recommend? You looked at his team, then back at the captain. Let them land. Let them start eating. Then hit them when they are feeding and cannot move fast. Use their own biology against them. Captain J was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. The Villari have been trying to save everyone, he said. But you cannot save everyone in a war. Sometimes you have to sacrifice something small to save something big. Yes, sir. J turned to his communications officer. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we need the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet, and tell them to bring everything. Everything, sir. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We are not here to rescue people. We are here to end this war permanently. As the message was sent across the void to Earth, Captain J looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Grosk were eating another world. But their time was almost over. The humans had found their weakness. Now they just had to exploit it. The real war was about to begin. 3 months later, the space around Villari Prime was filled with human ships. Admiral Dahl stood on the bridge of the UES Devastator and watched his fleet spread out across the system. 12 ships had become 40. 40,000 soldiers had become 200,000. The Villari were amazed and terrified. Admiral, said his aide Commander Park, the Villari Council is requesting another meeting. They want to discuss our battle plans. Dahl was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from old battles. He had fought in the asteroid wars and the lunar conflicts. But this was his first alien war. What do they want to discuss? He asked. They are worried about our plan for Nexus Prime, sir. They think it is too dangerous. Dahl looked at the tactical display. Nexus Prime was a world on the edge of Grosk territory. It had 4 million Villari living on it. According to the plan, it would soon have 0. Tell the Council that war is dangerous, Dahl said. That is the point. The human plan was simple but brutal. They would evacuate most of the people from Nexus Prime, but not all of them. They would leave behind cities that looked occupied. They would fill those cities with special bait industrial compounds mixed with human-made chemicals when the Grosk came to feed. They would eat the bait. The chemicals would not kill them immediately. Instead, they would make them sick and slow. Then the real attack would begin. Sir, said Commander Park, Captain J is requesting permission to begin the evacuation. Granted. But remember, we only evacuate 3.5 million people. 500,000 stay behind until the last moment. Park looked uncomfortable. Sir, the Villari do not like that part of the plan. The Villari do not like any part of the plan, Dahl replied. But they asked for our help. This is how we help. On Nexus Prime, the evacuation was going slowly. The Villari wanted to save everyone. Immediately. The humans insisted on following the plan exactly. Captain Rowe was in charge of the ground operation. She had to deal with angry Villari officials every day. Captain, said Villari Governor Thex, you must evacuate the coastal cities. Now. The Grosk will be here in 2 days. Governor, we evacuate according to the schedule. The coastal cities are evacuated tomorrow morning, but that might be too late. Captain Rowe looked at the alien governor. Like all Villari, he was tall and thin, and looked fragile, but he was trying to protect his people. She could respect that. Governor, I understand your concern. But if we evacuate too early, the Grosk will know it is a trap. If they know it is a trap, the plan fails. If the plan fails, they will eat this world and every other world you have. But the people ... the people in the coastal cities will be evacuated. I promise you that. But they will be evacuated at the right time, not before. The next morning, Grosk scouts arrived in the Nexus system. Long-range sensors detected them immediately. Within hours, the main swarm would follow. All ships, Admiral Dahl broadcast to his fleet, prepare for operation. Mousetrap. Remember, do not engage the enemy until they are fully committed to the planet's surface. The human ships moved away from Nexus Prime and hid behind the system's 2 moons. To the Grosk, it would look like the system was UNDEFENDED. The Grosk swarm arrived like a black cloud. Thousands of the creatures traveled through space in a tight formation. They moved toward Nexus Prime without hesitation. To them, it looked like every other world they had consumed. On the planet's surface, Captain Rowe was in the command center of New Harbor City. 500,000 Villari were still in the city, working frantically to make everything look normal. The humans had promised they would all be evacuated before the real danger began. "Captain," said her communications officer, "the Grosk have entered the atmosphere. Landing in approximately 4 hours. Begin final evacuation," Rowe ordered. "All civilians to the transport ships. Now?" The next 4 hours were the longest in Rowe's life. Transport ships landed in the city and took people away as fast as possible, but there were so many people in so little time. "Captain," said Lieutenant Beak, "we have 90% of the civilians evacuated. But the Grosk are landing on the southern continent. How much time do we have?" "They will reach the city in 6 hours if they move at normal speed. Keep evacuating. Every person we save is a victory." The Grosk moved across the southern continent like a black wave. They ate everything in their path: trees, animals, buildings, even the roads. As they fed, they began laying eggs. The eggs hatched quickly, and baby Grosk joined the feeding, but something was wrong. The human chemicals in the bait were starting to work. The Grosk were eating, but they were also getting sick. They moved slower. Their coordination was bad. Some of them started fighting each other. "Sir," reported Commander Park from the fleet, "the bait is working. The Grosk are showing signs of chemical poisoning." "How many have landed?" asked Admiral Dahl. "Approximately 80,000 adults and 50,000 juveniles." "Good. Wait until they are all committed to feeding, then we spring the trap." On Nexus Prime, Captain Rowe was evacuating the last civilians when her scout reported something terrifying. "Captain, the Grosk have reached the outer city. They will be here in 1 hour." "How many people are left?" "About 20,000, ma'am." Rowe made a decision that would haunt her forever. Load the transports with as many as possible. "Leave the rest." "Ma'am, you heard me. We cannot save everyone." "Save who we can." The last transport ships left New Harbor City just as the first Grosk entered the outer districts. Behind them, 15,000 Villari were hiding in underground shelters. Praying that the human plan would work. In space, Admiral Dahl watched the Grosk swarm spread across the planet's surface. They were feeding heavily now, consuming the contaminated bait along with everything else. Their movements were becoming more and more erratic. "All ships," he broadcast, "commence Operation Mousetrap. Fire everything." What happened next shocked even the humans. 40 human warships opened fire at the same time. But they were not using energy weapons like the other galactic species. They were using kinetic weapons. Massive tungsten rods dropped from orbit at tremendous speed. The rods hit the planet like the hammers of angry gods. Each impact created a fireball that could be seen from space. The kinetic energy turned sand into glass and rock into lava. The atmosphere itself caught fire. In some places, the Grosk, already weakened by the chemical bait, could not survive the bombardment. Their tough shells cracked under the extreme heat. Their internal organs were crushed by the pressure waves. In less than an hour, 130,000 Grosk were dead, but the humans were not finished. They followed the kinetic bombardment with atmospheric igniters, weapons that turned the air itself into a weapon. The entire southern continent became a hellscape of fire and molten rock. When it was over, Nexus Prime looked like a different world. The southern continent was completely destroyed. The northern continent was damaged but still habitable, and every single Grosk was dead. "Mission accomplished," reported Captain J from the surface. "All enemy forces eliminated. No survivors." In The Villari observation ship, the alien commanders watched the destruction in horror. Ambassador Veleth could barely speak. They destroyed an entire continent, he whispered. They destroyed the Grosk, corrected Commander Dexus. Something no one else has ever done. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. For the first time in decades, a Grosk swarm had been completely eliminated. Not defeated, not driven. Away, eliminated. Every last one dead, but the victory came with a terrible cost. An entire world was now mostly uninhabitable. 15,000 Villari had died in the bombardment, and the galaxy had seen what humans were capable of when they decided to solve a problem. Admiral Dahl received messages from dozens of species. Some were congratulations, others were expressions of horror. A few were threats. "Sir," said Commander Park, "the Galactic Council is demanding we explain our tactics. They say what we did was a war crime." Dahl looked at the tactical display showing the dead world of Nexus Prime. Then he looked at another display showing all the worlds. The Grosk had not destroyed because they were now dead. "Tell the Council that we are not members of their organization." He said, "We do not follow their rules, we follow results. And if they demand we stop, then they can try to stop us themselves. But I do not think they will like the results of that either." As the human fleet prepared to move to the next Grosk target, Admiral Dell made a promise to himself. This galaxy had asked Earth for help. They were going to get help whether they wanted it or not. The Grosk had made a mistake when they started eating inhabited worlds. But the galaxy had made a bigger mistake when they called the humans. Now everyone would live with the consequences. The news traveled fast. Within 2 weeks, every species in the galaxy knew about Nexus Prime. The humans had done the impossible. They had stopped a Grosk swarm. But the way they did it made many aliens wonder if the cure was worse than the disease. Commander Jin stood in the war room of the UES Decimator and looked at the big map of the galaxy. Red dots showed where the Grosk had attacked. Blue dots showed Grosk breeding worlds. Yellow dots showed targets for Operation Deathworld. There were a lot of yellow dots. "Status report," Jin said to his staff. "Sir," said Major Lee, "we have confirmed Grosk presence on 43 worlds. Intelligence suggests another 20 breeding colonies in deep space. What about allied support?" "Mixed, sir. The Villari are helping with intelligence, but they do not like our methods. The Corvani offered 3 ships, but they want us to follow their rules of engagement. The Xanthorian survivors want revenge, but they have no military left." Jin nodded. He was a thin man with sharp eyes and a reputation for winning battles that other people said could not be won. His job was to plan the complete destruction of the Grosk species. "We do this alone then," he said. "It will be faster that way." "Sir," said Colonel Park, "the Galactic Council is still demanding we stop. They say our tactics are too extreme. What do they suggest instead?" "Containment. They want us to build walls around Grosk territory and wait for them to die out naturally." Jin laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "How long would that take?" "According to their scientists, maybe 1,000 years. Maybe 10,000. "And how many worlds would the Grosk eat in that time?" "All of them, sir." "Then we ignore the Council. Continue with the operation." The human war machine was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Where other species tried to fight with honor and minimize casualties, humans fought to win. On Grosk breeding world Zeta 7, Captain Kim led the orbital bombardment. His ships did not try to land troops or capture territory. They simply turned the entire planet into a radioactive wasteland from space. "Target eliminated," he reported. Moving to next coordinates? On the planet Thorvin, Major SCO used biological weapons. She released engineered viruses that attacked the Grosk nervous system. The creatures died slowly and horribly, but they died. "Biological agent successful," she reported. "No Grosk survivors detected." On asteroid base Omega, Colonel Han used gravitational weapons to collapse the entire asteroid into a singularity. 3 million Grosk died in seconds as their home was compressed into a point of infinite density. Gravitational weapon effective, he reported. Target no longer exists. The other species watched in horror as the humans systematically destroyed every Grosk stronghold they could find. But they also watched as Grosk attacks on their own worlds stopped completely. "They are monsters," said Xanthorian Admiral Corex during a Galactic Council meeting. "They fight without honor, without mercy, without any consideration for the rules of civilized warfare." "But they are winning," pointed out Valari Elder Corvesh. "For the first time in decades, my people are not losing worlds to the Grosk." "At what cost?" demanded Corvani Senator Thev. "They have destroyed 15 worlds completely. Turned them into dead rocks floating in space." "Better dead rocks than Grosk breeding grounds?" said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Dr. Me, the human fleet xenobiologist, entering the council chamber. She was a small woman with gray hair and cold eyes. "Dr. Me," said the council chairman, "you were not invited to this meeting." "I invited myself," she replied. "I thought you might want to understand what you are dealing with." "We understand perfectly," Senator Thev said angrily. "You are genocidal killers who destroy everything. In your path." Dr. Me smiled. "You think we are the monsters in this story? Are you not? Let me tell you about Earth," Dr. Me said. "My planet has been through 5 major extinction events. Each time, most life died, but some life survived. And the life that survived was always the life that was best at killing other life." The council chamber was quiet. "On Earth, we have creatures called sharks that have barely changed in 400 million years. Do you know why? Because they are perfect killers? We have creatures called crocodiles that survived the extinction that killed the dinosaurs. Do you know how? By being better predators than anything else. What does this have to do with anything?" asked Admiral Corex. "Everything," Dr. Me replied. "You see, you think the Grosk are predators, but you are wrong. Predators hunt for food. The Grosk are not predators. They are an invasive species. I do not understand the difference. On Earth, invasive species are plants or animals that are introduced to new environments where they have no natural enemies. They reproduce without control and destroy the local ecosystem. We have dealt with invasive species for thousands of years." Dr. Me activated a holographic display showing images from Earth. Kudzu vines that covered entire forests. Zebra mussels that clogged waterways. Cane toads that poisoned everything that tried to eat them. Each time we tried gentle methods first. Relocation, containment, limited culling, and, asked Elder Corvesh, and each time gentle methods failed. The only solution that worked was complete eradication. Kill every last one. Make sure none survive to restart the cycle. The aliens in the chamber looked uncomfortable. "The Grosk are the same?" Dr. Me continued. "They are an invasive species that got loose in your galaxy. You have been trying gentle methods for decades. How is that working for you?" No one answered. "Humans learned a long time ago that some problems cannot be solved with kindness. Some problems can only be solved with violence. Complete, total, absolute violence. But genocide," Senator Thev started to say, "is exactly what the Grosk have been committing against you for decades," Dr. Me interrupted. "The only difference is that we are better at it than they are." Admiral Corex stood up. "Dr. Me, your species may be effective, but you are also terrifying. What happens after you finish with the Grosk? What happens to the rest of us?" Dr. Me looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Some were just confused. "That depends," she said finally, "on whether you give us a reason to consider you an invasive species too." The threat hung in the air like a dark cloud. For the first time, the Galactic Council understood what they had invited into their galaxy. The humans were not just allies. They were not just soldiers. They were apex predators from a world where only the strongest and most violent survived. And now they were loose in a galaxy full of peaceful species who had never learned how to fight. A real war. "Dr. Me," Elder Corvesh said quietly, "what do you want from us?" "Nothing," she replied. "Just stay out of our way while we work. When we are finished, you will have a galaxy with no Grosk in it." What you do with that galaxy after that is up to you." As Dr. Me left the chamber, the alien leaders sat in silence. They had asked for help against monsters. They had gotten help from bigger monsters, and now they had to live with the consequences of their choice. In space, the human war fleets continued their work. World after world, hive after hive, colony after colony. The Grosk numbers dropped steadily, but with each victory, the galaxy became a little more afraid of the humans. And the humans became a little more comfortable with being the most dangerous species in known space. The war was almost over. But a new age was just beginning. 1 year after the first distress call, Admiral Lee stood on the observation deck of the UES Annihilator and watched the last known Grosk hive burn. The massive space station was falling into the star Kepler 442, pushed there by human gravitational manipulators. "Sir," reported Captain Choi, "all Grosk life signs have ceased. The hive is completely destroyed." Lee nodded. After 12 months of fighting, it was finally over. The Grosk were extinct. Every last one of them. "Send the message to Earth Command," he said. "Mission accomplished. The galaxy is clear." But as Lee watched the burning hive disappear into the star, he wondered if the galaxy would thank them for this victory. Probably not. The humans had won the war, but they had done it in a way that terrified everyone else. 15 worlds were completely dead. 3 star systems had been turned into radiation zones. An entire species had been wiped from existence. "Admiral," said his communications officer, "we are receiving a priority message from the Galactic Council. They want you to attend an emergency session." "What kind of emergency? They want to discuss us, sir." 2 days later, Admiral Lee stood before the assembled representatives of 43 galactic species. The great chamber was built to impress visitors with its size and beauty. Tall windows showed the stars beyond. Elegant decorations covered the walls. Lee wore his simple military uniform and looked completely out of place among the colorful robes and ceremonial dress of the alien dignitaries. "Admiral Lee," said Council. Chairman Vorthak, a being that looked like a cross between a tree and an octopus, "On behalf of the Galactic Council, we thank you for eliminating the Grosk threat." "You are welcome," Lee replied. "However," the chairman continued, "we must discuss your methods. The destruction you have caused, the weapons you have used. Many of us are concerned about having such a dangerous species in our galaxy." Lee looked around the chamber. Some aliens looked afraid, others looked angry. A few looked curious. "Chairman," he said, "you sent a distress call asking for help. We helped you. The Grosk are gone. What more do you want?" "We want to understand what you are," said Valari Elder Corvesh. "Your ships, your weapons, your tactics. Everything about you is designed for war. Even your smallest actions seem calculated for maximum destruction. We want to know," added Corvani Senator Dev, "whether we should be grateful or terrified." Admiral Lee was quiet for a long moment. Then he began to speak. "You want to know what we are? I will tell you." He activated a holographic display showing images of Earth. "This is our world. You call it a death world because everything on it is dangerous. Extreme weather, toxic environments. Predators that can kill you in dozens of different ways. The images showed storms that could level cities, deserts that could cook a person alive, and creatures with teeth and claws and poison. But you do not understand what that really means," Lee continued. "A death world does not just kill the weak. It forces everything on it to become stronger, faster, more dangerous. For 4 billion years, life on Earth has been in an arms race with death itself." New images appeared. Sharks with rows of teeth. Big cats with muscles like steel cables. Tiny insects that could kill creatures 1,000 times their size. Every species on Earth evolved to kill or be killed. The gentle ones died out millions of years ago. Only the survivors remained. And we humans? We were not the strongest or the fastest or the most poisonous. Then how did you survive?" asked Elder Corvesh. Lee smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. "We became the smartest killers on the planet. We learned to use tools. We learned to work together. We learned to think of new ways to destroy our enemies. And most importantly, we learned that sometimes, to protect what you love, you have to become something terrible. The chamber was completely silent. You think we are monsters, Lee said. You are right, we are monsters. But we are monsters who chose to protect you instead of eat you. Do you understand how rare that is? Admiral, said Chairman Vorthek carefully, what are your intentions toward the rest of the galaxy? That depends on you, Lee replied. We did not come here to conquer anyone. We came because you asked for help. Now that the job is done, we will leave if you want us to. But if you threaten Earth, or if another threat like the Grosk appears, we will come back. And we will do whatever is necessary to protect our interests. Senator Thev stood up. Admiral, you speak of protection, but you destroyed entire worlds. How do we know you will not do the same to us? Lee looked directly at the senator. Because you are not trying to eat us. The day you start acting like the Grosk is the day you become like the Grosk. And we know how to deal with species like the Grosk. The threat was clear. The humans would be allies as long as everyone behaved, but if anyone became aggressive. There is something else you should know, Lee said. Earth did not just produce humans. In our history, there were other intelligent species on our world. Neanderthals, Denisovans, others. What happened to them? Asked Elder Corvesh. We killed them, Lee said simply. Not because we hated them, not because they were evil, but because two intelligent predator species cannot share the same territory. It was them or us, we chose us. The aliens looked at each other with growing fear. We are telling you this, Lee continued, so you understand what you are dealing with. We are not just another species. We are the apex predators of a death world. We have been killing our competition for hundreds of thousands of years. We are very, very good at it. Is that a threat? Demanded Admiral Corex. It is a fact, Lee replied. What you do with that fact is up to you. Just then, Lee's communications officer whispered something in his ear. The Admiral's expression changed. Chairman, he said, I have just received an interesting message. It seems we have a new situation. What kind of situation? Lee activated his communicator, put it on the main display. A new hologram appeared. It showed a message from an unknown source. To all species in the Milky Way galaxy, we are the devourers of the Andromeda galaxy. We have consumed all life in our home galaxy and now turn our attention to yours. Resistance is futile. Surrender and your deaths will be quick. The chamber erupted in panic. Aliens were shouting in dozens of languages. Some were already heading for the exits. Lee waited for the noise to die down, then spoke. Well, he said calmly, it looks like you have another pest problem. Chairman Vorthak looked terrified. Admiral, what do we do? Lee smiled. This time it was a predator smile. You do what you did last time. You send a distress call, and we come running. But these devourers, they consumed an entire galaxy. How can even you fight something? Like that? Lee turned toward the exit, then stopped and looked back. Chairman, let me tell you something about humans. We have a saying on Earth, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. These devourers think they are the most dangerous thing in the universe, and they are not. No, Lee said as he walked away. They have never met anything from Earth. As the human delegation left the chamber, the aliens sat in stunned silence. They had just learned that their saviors were probably more dangerous than anything they had ever faced. But they had also learned that these dangerous beings were on their side. For now, outside the chamber, Admiral Lee spoke into his communicator. Earth Command, this is Admiral Lee. We have a new situation. Prepare the 1st through 10th fleets for deployment. Full armament authorization requested. Admiral, came the reply. What is the nature of the threat? Lee looked up at the stars, somewhere among which a new enemy was heading toward them. Galaxy Eaters, he said. Big ones. Understood, Admiral. How should we classify this mission? Lee thought about the Grosk and how easy they had been to kill once humans put their minds to it. He thought about these new devourers and how they probably thought they were unbeatable. Pest control, he said finally. Just another day of pest control. As human ships throughout the galaxy received their new orders, the aliens of the Milky Way prepared for another war. But this time they were not afraid. They had monsters on their side. And everyone knew that the best way to fight monsters was with bigger monsters. The galaxy was about to find out just how big Earth's monsters could be.